Chapter 3, yes.
Open it. Please open it.
Yeah, we can see.
So the first question is by Ranjini ma'am.
Yeah. The question, verse 43. Verse 43. What is 43? Reference, chapter 3, verse 43. Says, realizing the self within as greater than the intellect, restraining the self by the self. Chapter 3, verse 43, second statement. Please elaborate what is self and restraining self by the self. How self restrains itself. Realizing the self within as greater than the intellect. This statement is a continuity of the previous verse. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha manasastu parabuddhehe yobuddhehe parakastu saha. It's a continuation of the previous verse. Because it is a very, very important verse. Appearing twice in Kathopanishad. The same verse appears twice in Kathopanishad, and in other Upanishads also it appears. It's not only one Upanishad, it appears in quite a few Upanishads, gives reference to this verse. The hierarchy of subtlety. What is subtler, what is gross? All that is being said. So question is not that. And then in verse number 43, a discipline is given, a sadhana is given. What is a sadhana? The second statement, restraining the self by the self. O Mahabaho, kill the enemy in the form of desire, hard to conquer. That is verse number 40. So what is he saying here? Restraining the self by the self. The question is this. Please elaborate what is self. Wherever the small s comes, it is the individual. Wherever the capital S comes, it refers to Brahman. That is the difference. First difference is, wherever the capital S comes, it refers to Brahman. Wherever the small s comes, it refers to the individual. So restrain, what is elaborate? Please elaborate what is self. The indriyas, the senses, the indriyas, the mind, the intellect, all put together is known as the self. Self individual is a combination of instruments grouped together. When the few instruments are put together, that instruments put together is called the self. So self here refers to the individual. And who is the individual? Combination of instruments. The senses, indriyani paranyahu, indriyebhya paramanaha, manasastu parabuddhehe. So up to buddhi, the individual comes. And these instruments by themselves are lifeless. Yobuddhehe paratastu saha. Saha means he, the one who enlivens. So what is self here means? Self here refers to the individual. The body, the mind, the intellect combo is called the self. Second question. Restraining the self by the self. That is the verse. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana. So he uses the word self twice. Restraining the self by the self. So what is the two self means? What is the two Atmana here refers to? That is the second question, correct?
What are the two selves?
What are the two restraining the self by the self? What is that? What are the two selves referring to? The first self refers to the first self refers to the senses and the mind. Second self, the intellect. Restraining the self by the self. So the first self refers to one refers to the senses and the mind. Other refers to the intellect. So by using the intellect and restraining the senses and the mind, that's how you have to read. Using the intellect to restrain the senses and the mind. So this is what is called restraining self by the self. To put it very simply, the discipline of self-control. To put it very simply, it is known as the discipline of self-control. Self-control implies sense control and mind control. Whenever we use the word self-control, self-control has two disciplines. One is the sense control, another is the mind control. That is the first interpretation. This is one interpretation. The second interpretation is a more deeper interpretation. The more deeper interpretation comes in the form of avarna and vikshepa. Avarna means ignorance. Vikshepa means mental agitations. So the Vedantic explanation of all miseries of life is combination of avarna and vikshepa. This is the Vedantic explanation for all the miseries that everybody goes through. It is avarna and vikshepa. Avarna means that which, avarna means covering. Vikshepa is something else. First it covers, second is you see something else. That's called avarna and vikshepa. First it covers and then you see something else. So what is it that you see something else? So the first discipline is, if avarna is the problem, if covering, which is ignorance, is the problem, you have to gain knowledge. Knowledge by itself is useless without sense control. Sense control by itself is useless without knowledge. Again, only knowledge without sense control is useless. Only sense control and no knowledge again is useless. Why? Because in only sense control and no knowledge, what happens is that person becomes a suppressed individual. Because what is the reason for sense control? You need to have a reason to practice control. Therefore, two disciplines goes hand in hand. What? Knowledge and sense control. You follow? Sense control and mind control. Both. Whenever we talk about self-control here, both are, we are talking about both combined here. So, two disciplines that goes hand in hand. What are the two disciplines? As you keep gaining knowledge, you got to practice self-control. These two together, Jahishatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. This explanation justifies the second statement of the verse, Jahishatrum Mahabaho, a very famous call, where he says, kill the enemy in the form of a desire. Kill the enemy. Kill the enemy is a command by the Shastra. Here, the Shastra is giving you a command. What is the command? Kill the enemy. Kill is the command. Not kill the enemy and all. Kill is the command. What? The desire. Why? It is inimical. And Krishna acknowledges which is hard to conquer. It's not that easy also. As I'm saying, kill the enemy, I'm also understanding that it is a bit difficult. You follow what I'm saying? Therefore, restraining the self by the self means practicing using the intellect to control the senses and the mind, which is a practice of direct explanation of restraining the self by the self. But then you cannot take that alone. You have to refer to the complete verse. Why? Because the second verse, the second statement of the verse is Jahishatru Mahabaho, a command. Wherever the Shastra gives a command, we take it as a law. Command means a law. Law means what? You got to do it. You got to do it. If you do it, you are protected. If you don't do it, you will be punished. That's what law is. Law will not reward you for obeying the law. Law will not come and reward you. Law will not come and say you are a wonderful person, you obeyed the law. Law says if you obey the law, you will be protected. If you do not obey the law, you will be punished. The very protection is the reward. So the law doesn't reward you. The law simply protects you. What is the protection? From the enemy. Jahishatru Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. Therefore, knowledge and self-restraint are the two pedals to conquer the enemy, known as desire. Why two must go hand in hand? One without the other becomes useless. Knowledge without sense control, you will be a very good professor. Only sense control without knowledge, over a period of time, that person becomes very suppressed, frustrated individual. Why? Because there is no reason for practicing control. Therefore, the two goes together. So the last verse gives a practical approach. What is a practical approach it is giving? It is giving the practical approach to control. Because of lack of knowledge, everybody has temporary control. For some worldly purposes, for a worldly purpose, every human being has a control. That's why in Shastra, this kind of control, we call it as Ravana's control. Ravana also had a sense control. Ravana also had sense control. Ravana also had this mind under control. As long as his senses and mind were under control, Indras and the Devas and everybody was frightened. Everybody was under him. The moment he lost it, the disaster happened. So everybody practices control, but that control doesn't have the backing of the right knowledge. They practice control for a short period of time for a specific purpose. Like the student practicing control in order to get the degree, the husband practicing control for something, the wife practicing control for something, the employer practicing, everybody practices it, but since knowledge is not backing it, therefore there is a frustration in that control. Number one. Number two, because of not knowledge backing it, the power of the senses is like time bomb ticking inside. That's what Vedanta understands it very clearly. If you don't have this knowledge backing, the power of the senses is like time bomb ticking inside. It can burst out anytime like it burst out for Ravana. Are you able to follow? It will burst out at any point of time, it will burst out. Therefore, restraining the self by the self. So, where do you start the control? Senses. Where do you start the control? Senses. Vashehi yashendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Who is the man of perfection? The one who's got his senses under control. So, knowing him who is superior to intellect, restraining the self by the self, kill it. Kill it. Jahishatrum Mahabaho. Durasadam means it's an enemy which has to be conquered. Though difficult, you can do it. Though difficult, you can do it. Otherwise, why will he give us this knowledge? In Krishna's vision, we can do it. In Krishna's understanding, we all can do it. Therefore, he gives this. He gives this. He's giving a task. He's giving a lifetime goal. What is the lifetime goal? The lifetime goal that he is giving is the senses and the mind. Control them. Control the senses, control the mind is a lifetime goal. This will go on and on and on till the end. This is as far as the statement is concerned. Restraining the self by the self. Knowledge helps sense control. Sense control helps knowledge. Sense control helps knowledge. Knowledge helps sense control. So that is why they talk about two kinds of sannyasa. One is a withdrawal for the sake of gaining knowledge temporarily. Another is where all the desires have gone except the desire for self-realization, serving the Guru, that's all. That is the second state. That is the true sannyasa. So there are two levels of withdrawal. One level of withdrawal is for the sake of gaining knowledge. Technically, it's called Vidvat Sannyasa. Like when a person joins, like when I went and joined the 3-year course in the academy, I wasn't a sannyasi. It's called Vidvat Sannyasa. Vidvat Sannyasa means you temporarily withdraw for the sake of gaining knowledge. So as you temporarily withdraw for the sake of gaining knowledge, some discipline, some controls has to be practiced. All that you do, like we say between 5 and 6 in the morning, when you come and sit in the classroom, all this is called practicing Vidvat Sannyasa. This is called Vidvat Sannyasa, where you are practicing withdrawal for the sake of gaining knowledge. As you do this, rest of the time you supplement it with sense control, whatever be it. Over a period of time, these two combination brings about a maturity. What is that maturity? That maturity is what is called as, that is also called as sannyasa. This is called Vidvat Sannyasa. That is called Vividisa Sannyasa. Vividisa Sannyasa means you reach that state only for the purpose of moksha. Only for the purpose of moksha and mark of gratitude, Guru Seva. Guru Seva as a mark of gratitude, and the purpose is moksha. The ideal of Vedanta is to get to that level of sannyasa. So whenever we praise sannyasa, you should remember what sannyasa we praise. We praise that sannyasa, not this one. This one is what everybody does anyway. When a person goes from India to America, what is it they are practicing? Vidvat sannyasa only they are practicing. When they go and share a room with 4 people, eat the food, sit in the climate, go and work in the McDonald's. What are they doing? Here, they will not even take a glass and leave it in the sink. There, they will go and work in McDonald's, they will go and work, isn't it? Taxi driver job, they will take there. There will be a taxi driver there. There will be this there. And here, when they come back, they will not move anything. And the mother has to take a break from the office to sit and cater to the daughters. Because daughters have come. So, holiday to office. Why? Because daughters have come. And the daughters won't do anything. The same daughter, when they sit there, they do everything. What is that called? They are not practicing control there. It looks like control, but it is a very specific short term. It doesn't bring about a personality change. Here, we are talking about a personality change. Are you able to follow? Restraining the self by the self. This is the method that he is giving. 2 disciplines. Realizing the self within as greater than the intellect is knowledge. Restraining the self by the self is sense control. So the first statement, restraining the self within as greater than the intellect, refers to knowledge. Second statement, restraining the self by the self, refers to the sense control. So 2 disciplines. This is answering Ranjani's question. Is it okay?
It's a continuation of the same question. With reference to sense control, I'm able to understand that sense control means you are bringing in the natural instincts, the tendencies of the senses under control, like hunger, thirst, sleep, or the urge to procreate. There the stages are very clear how you go about sense control. It's very clear. But with reference to mind control, I'm not able to understand it at all.
The question is, with reference to sense control, it is understandable. What is this mind control? What is mind control? Mind control is awareness of the 5. Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Awareness of the 5 is awareness of the 5, and we talk about that, no? The intensity,
Frequency, intensity, recovery.
the frequency, the intensity, the recovery. How frequent all this is, how intense they are, and what is the recovery time. So awareness of these 5 in relation to the frequency, the intensity, the recovery is mind control. What is mind? This is the mind. When you say mind control, what is mind? Mind is nothing but this. Control means that which is detrimental is control. We don't talk about controlling gratitude, we will not say, no. That comes naturally. So what do you mean by mind control? Mind control is anger, jealous, greed, arrogance, insecurity. With everything around, the mind feels insecure. What do you do? Anger comes, and everybody believes their anger is reasonable. Whereas the reality is, no anger is reasonable. And everybody believes their anger is reasonable. Others' anger and all may be not correct, sir, I understand. Correct. But my expression of anger is fully justifiable, sir. If you are in my situation, you will get more angry than me also, isn't it? In Nalvel, isn't it? So everybody has a justification for their anger. Everybody has a justification for their insecurity. What is mind control? At one level, mind control means controlling likes and dislikes, not falling a victim of likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha. That is one way of understanding mind control. You follow? One way of defining mind control is raga dvesha management. Manage your raga and dvesha. That is one. Another way of understanding mind control is attachment. Mind is that which get attached, and wherever your mind has a tendency to get attached, you are aware of it and avoid it. It means you are practicing mind control. So one way of understanding mind control is raga dvesha control. Another way of understanding mind control is attachment control. All this requires some kind of maturity to even know that you are attached. All this even requires some kind of maturity. So what do? We dilute it further. What is the dilution? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, frequency, intensity, recovery. So mind control means, in some context, we mean mind control means attachment control. In some context, we would mean raga dvesha control. In some context, we would mean Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya control. Are you able to follow? This is what is meant by mind control. To understand it very simply, go through the definitions of the mind. What is the mind? Feelings, emotions, impulses, likes and dislikes, attachment. That's all. So, controlling attachment, controlling emotions, controlling impulses. Now, what is impulses? How do I control impulses? You don't know what impulses is. That's where Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya comes. Attachment. Very difficult to understand your areas of attachment. You won't even know. Areas of attachment means you won't know that you are attached. So, whenever the other says I am suffocated, means you are attached to that. Whenever the other person says give me a break, means you understand that you have been practicing attachment. So you got to, okay. So attachment means you got to practice detachment. This is mind control. You follow? All these are so theoretical, which takes some advanced level to manage all this. What is the starting point of mind control? He doesn't talk about it. For Krishna, the starting level is a very high level. He doesn't have the problem of Friday GD group, he never had that problem. Since we have the problem of Friday GD, we bring it down. So how do we bring it down? Keep it as Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Why? These are the symptoms. Symptomatic treatment. Because in the beginning stages, we can only look at the symptoms and understand the disease. At advanced level, even when there is no symptoms, you can understand the disease at advanced level. In the initial level, only the symptoms helps you to understand. Therefore, this is what is meant by mind control. Are you okay? This is a sense control, and this is what happens as far as the mind control is also concerned.
So first you work on the manifest.
Yes, first you work on the manifestations. Work on the anger. Work on the jealous. Work on the greed. Work on the insecurities. Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, and Bhaya. Insecurity. With everything around, why this insecurity? Why this anger keeps coming? again and again and again. Why is this anger? Isn't it? Anger is like the fire. All these are equated to fire, meaning the burning capacity, it burns you up. That's why he calls it as enemy here. Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasa. And throughout this third chapter, he is Shatrum. He called it as Shatru here. Previously, he called it as Paripantinau, Vairi, Nitya Vairi, Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, Paripantinaha, Shatru. 4 words to indicate how desire is deadly. What is desire? Desire is a hope for happiness, isn't it? What is desire? Desire is nothing but a hope. What is the hope? If I get that, I'll be happy. So desire is nothing but a hope for happiness. Control. Man, why do you have to have a hope? When your true nature is all blissful, why do you have to have a hope for happiness? In that sense. You follow? Yeah. This is as far as answering her questions. Next question. Question by Anshu. Okay. What is she asking? When we act selfishly, attachment seems to be the driving motive behind it. Okay. What is the driving force behind a selfless action? Second, can a person get neutralized in the area of Swadharma? 2 questions. First question, what is the driving force behind a selfless action? The driving force behind the selfless action is Lokasangraha, love. It's just love, that's all. There is no other reason. So what is the motive? What is the driving force behind a selfless action? The driving force behind selfless action is just love. Why do you give? There's no reason to give. You give because you love so much that you give. So what is the reason for selfless action? What drives a selfless? Just love. What is the reason for love? No, there's no reason for love. The moment you bring in a reason for love, trading. There's no reason to love. You just love. You follow? Anshu.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. Selfishness is self-love. Selfless means you love the other. Same thing that drives both. In selfishness, self-love drives it. In selflessness, exactly the opposite. That's all. You follow? It's just love. Love that has no reason. Love that has no reason. Love that has no reason. How can you love without reason? That's what love is all about. That's why the most unreasonable thing in a human being is the love. So with reason, you decide not to reason, isn't it? So what is love? Unreason. There's no reason behind. Why do you serve? Why do you give? There is no reason behind it. Lokasangraha. Lokasangraha mevapi, he said, no, in this chapter. In the emotional appeals for action, he said, why do you think I am acting, Arjuna? You have a reason to fight. Arjuna, you have a reason to fight. Duryodhana has a reason to fight. Bhishma has a reason to fight. Dronacharya has a reason to fight. Why do you think I am doing it? All of you have a reason. Why do you think I have a reason? What is my reason? Everybody has a specific self-interest. In this entire battlefield, everybody has a specific self-interest. The self-interest of Bhishma is Do the duty for the country and be get rid of that burden of gratitude. Dronacharya, they saved. So everybody had Karna wanted to show his. So everybody had some specific reason. Arjuna, Krishna says, why do you think I am fighting? Why do you think I am fighting? That too sitting in the battlefield without any unarmed, unprotected, he says, isn't it? Unarmed, unprotected. Why? Because he doesn't need this protection. For what is his protection? When he is armed with genuine love and genuine sacrifice, he doesn't need any other protection. That person doesn't need any other protection. That is selflessness. Are you able to follow? He is armed with something. What is that person armed with? That person is armed with that utter selflessness. Are you okay? Anshu. That is answering the first question. Second question. Can a person get neutralized in Swadharma? Was it discussed in the group? Huh?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought there's so many wise people here. I was curious to know what did I say? Okay. Can a person get neutralized in Swadharma? Yes. A person can get neutralized in Swadharma. Swadharma is not an automatic guarantee. Swadharma means the mind likes it. There is a natural inclination. Mind will tend to cooperate. That doesn't mean it will be forever. Therefore, can a person get neutralized in Swadharma? Yes. Unless the Swadharma is dedicated to a higher cause. If the Swadharma isn't dedicated to a higher cause, to a higher purpose, a person can get neutralized. For example, can a doctor be neutralized in his profession of being a doctor? Can a teacher get neutralized? Can a business person get neutralized? Can a sports person get neutralized? Can anybody feel the burnt out feeling? Yes. Therefore, a person can get neutralized in Swadharma. It may take slightly longer time, that's all. It may take slightly longer time, but definitely a person can get neutralized in Swadharma if that Swadharma is not dedicated to a higher, unless it is connected to a higher cause. The Swadharma has to be connected to a higher, the Swadharma needs to be connected to a higher cause. You follow? Anshu. Once it is connected to a higher cause, then it is possible. Otherwise, it's not possible. By itself, Swadharma doesn't mean anything. Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmo Bhayavaha. Swadharma gives you Shreyas. Paradharma is Bhayavaha. Frightening it is. It means Swadharma by itself will not give Shreyas. The Swadharma of Arjuna is to fight. The Swadharma of Duryodhana also is to fight. No.
Yes.
Kshatriya. If Duryodhana is, if Arjuna is a Kshatriya, who's Duryodhana? He is also a Kshatriya. He also has to fight. What makes the difference? In the Swadharmic field, dedicating it to a higher cause is easier. Are you able to follow? Why do we say that? The higher itself is very difficult, first of all. To bring in a higher cause itself is difficult. And then bringing the higher cause in a paradharmic field is far more difficult. So, you will be fighting two impossible battles at the same time. What? Paradharma is one battle, and fixing a higher goal and practice and sticking to that higher goal is another fight. So, what Swadharma does? Of the two fight, don't fight one. What? Don't take up paradharma. Do it with swadharma. Here, carefully follow. I am using the word swadharma in synonymous with what he calls in the 18th chapter as swabhava. Here, I am using the word swadharma as what is meant by swabhava. In the true sense of the term, when swabhava is coupled with dharma, and when a person is following that, neutralization is not possible. Because you can't get neutralized to higher. Are you able to follow? You can't get neutralized to dharma. Impossible. More you follow dharma, that much more inspired you are. The more you follow dharma, much more inspired you are. So in that, so if we connect the nature to the, if we connect the nature to following the dharma, which is what higher is, their neutralization will not happen. So you have to be very clear. Just the nature by alone, you cannot say neutralization will not happen. That's why in the third chapter he uses the word swadharma. In the 18th chapter he uses two words, swadharma and swabhava. So actually what is swadharma? When that swabhava is guided by dharma, it turns swadharma. Swabhava is the nature. Engineer is a nature. Doctor is a nature. Lawyer is, it's called swabhava. Swabhava by itself can be very selfish also. No, I can use the swabhava thing for a very selfish purpose also, isn't it? So when that swabhava is guided by dharma, neutralization will not work at all. You will not get neutralized 110%. Why? The nature of dharma is such that more you follow, much more you will want to follow. The very nature of dharma is that endless reservoir of energy. You can never get neutralized. In swabhava, you will get neutralized. Very easy to get neutralized in swabhava. But in swadharma, which means the swabhava plus dharma, I'm using swadharma in a specific way now. So in which way you meant to swadharma, you can use Anshu. Swabhavana, you will get neutralized. Swadharma means swabhava guided by dharma, which is higher in nature. You can never get neutralized. Attachment, you will get bored. True love, you can never get bored. Are you able to follow? In true love, you can never get bored. How can you get bored in true love? Yes, in attachment, you can get bored. It is possible. I won't say it is possible. At some point of time, it will definitely happen. At some point of time, it will definitely happen. In swabhava, coupled with dharma, which is what swadharma actually means, we don't. Neutralization is not possible. So answer, yes. If you give one meaning to the word swadharma. Answer, no. If you give another meaning to the word swadharma, and I gave both the answer. Yes also I gave, the no also I gave. So first I gave the no, second I gave the yes. Based on how you are using the word swadharma. That's why it is very important to use the word precisely. Based on that only you can know whether it is yes or
No.
Is it okay, Anshu?
Yes, sir. So, sir, in the previous question, I just wanted to check. So, when we say what drives the selfless action, and in the sequence of vasana, thoughts, desire, and action, so that is the attitude which changes, nothing else.
Nothing else.
Okay.
Selflessness is the attitude change. Selfish is one attitude. Unselfish is another attitude. Selfless is another attitude. Therefore, in the chronology of action, vasana, thought, desire, action is that it doesn't refer to the attitude behind it. In the chronology of action, when we talk about vasana, thought, desire, action, it's a desire. What is a desire? I want to help. It's a desire. I want to help is a desire. Wanting is the desire there. Wanting what doesn't make any difference. Are you able to follow? Wanting to help. I want to help. So the very wanting is known as the desiring. What is selfless here? The attitude. In that wanting to help, I can bring in a selfish attitude. I can bring in an unselfish attitude. I can bring in a selfless attitude. So, what drives selfless? What attitude drives it? Selflessness. Love. Affection. You can use any word. Because in true knowledge, there is no action. Understand the difference between knowledge and where there is knowledge, there is no. Where there is knowledge, there is no action. Why? Because knowledge is a simple recognition of a fact. What is the fact? What is knowledge? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Aham Brahmasmi. This is what knowledge is. Are you able to follow? What is knowledge? Brahma Satyam. Second, Jagan Mithya. In Mithya, whether it is selfish Mithya or selfless, whether it is selfish or selfless, both are Mithya. So what are we talking about as selflessness and all in action from the standpoint of knowledge? So from the standpoint of knowledge, all this doesn't come into play at all. Why? Because Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Aham Brahmasmi. Who is this Brahman? What is this Brahman? Aham Brahmasmi. So knowledge means, remember, three cardinal principles of knowledge. Remember this always. So whenever in Vedanta, whenever we talk about knowledge, we always mean Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Aham Brahmasmi. Even though the statement goes Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Even though that's how the shloka, that's how the mantra goes. I'm not saying Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Instead of Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, I brought in Aham Brahmasmi. Both mean the same. So knowledge means what? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Aham Brahmasmi. Here, who is serving whom? What is serving what? Therefore, knowledge, where knowledge sets in, all this goes out of window. In the context of third chapter and all that, we are talking about we are talking about Karma Yoga. In the context of Karma Yoga, selflessness is an attitude. You follow now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So whenever we talk about knowledge, all these things don't come into play at all. That is why we say, remember the formula. Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Arjuna, you are a yogi type. Yogi type means karma yoga. In karma yoga, in Vedanta, you should understand this. Because of modern day terminology, we are saying karma bhakti jnana, as though it is sequential. As though it is simultaneous. In pure Vedantic way, karma and bhakti is one. Action goes with attitude. You cannot have an action without an. So karma and bhakti is always together. Then you are a yogi type. Then who is a Jnani type? Who is interested in understanding this as Mithya. If you say this as Mithya to a Karma Yogi will laugh and say, then who is serving? Then what about this Loka Sangraha Mevapi and all? Then what about this increasing the circle of identification, Loka Sangraha, all this, you got to bring in gratitude, you got to bring in the right attitude, gratitude, all this is only in the, all this applies in the relevance of yogi. Therefore, in this classroom, at least what we should understand, even though we say karma bhakti jnanam, we have to make a clear-cut demarcation between the two. Are you able to follow? There is a knowledge required for action. Please understand that. So we use the word knowledge in two ways. There is the knowledge required for action also. If I have to do an action, I need the knowledge of an action. But that is not called Jnana Yoga. That is part of karma, because it is the knowledge of action. And why do we call it as Karma Yoga? In Karma Yoga, doing gives the benefit. In Jnana Yoga, understanding gives the benefit. Remember that. Ganesh, in Karma Yoga, knowing will not give benefit in Karma Yoga. Doing gives the benefit. Are you able to follow? This is how I have to make the sambar. Does that give any benefit? So in Karma Yoga, it is doing. In Jnana Yoga, there is no doing. In Jnana Yoga, is a simple understanding. That is why we say, even though Karma Yoga also involves knowledge, but their knowledge is restricted to what? In Karma Yoga, knowledge is restricted to this is the magnum opus introduction that Shankara gives in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad introduction. Upanishad itself is big. His introduction to the Upanishad is much, much bigger. So he says the gist of it, he says very beautifully, in Karma Yoga, knowledge is not a priority. Doing is a priority. Knowledge is secondary in Karma Yoga. Are you able to follow? How do you say knowledge is secondary? He brings in like that extraordinary distinction he brings. Even though he talks about that, Vidyaranya, Madhusudana Saraswati and all, elaborated it so much we are able to follow what Shankara says. Per se, you take that Brihadaranyaka intro and read head or tail, you will not understand. But what he means is, in Karma Yoga, knowledge is secondary, doing is primary. Are you able to follow? That is why karma and bhakti is combined together. In bhakti also, doing is primary. You got to, bhakti also is doing, no, isn't it? Patram, pushpam, palam, toyam. It can be patram, it can be pushpam, it can be palam, it can be toyam. It can be doing the ritual in the way that it ought to be. It ought to be done, isn't it? Every god has a festival, isn't it? Every god has a festival. Every goddess has a festival. Similarly, Veda also has a festival. The festival for Veda is what happened yesterday. And other than Brahmins, nobody will do that. Because they are the custodians. No, only they will do it. Rest of them won't even know that there is a, rest of them won't even know that there is this festival. Upakarma, it is called, isn't it? It happened yesterday. There is one Mahasankalpa in that. The Sankalpa will take 15 minutes. That Mahasankalpa will take 15 minutes. What I did, what I am doing, what I am going to what I'm going to do, yatayama dosha, this dosha, that dosha, they talk. Now, all this knowledge is of no use unless you sit and do the ritual properly. Ganesha likes modaka, will not give you, Ganesha will not bless you if you have the knowledge of Ganesha likes modaka. When will Ganesha bless you? Only if you make the modaka and offer, no? So in karma and bhakti, what is predominant? Doing is predominant. Are you able to follow till now? I'm trying to make it simple instead of going into all that scholarly thing that he goes into. I'm not saying it's not needed. At this level, this is okay. So in karma and bhakti, doing is, I am grateful to my parents. I should be grateful to my parents. Will this knowledge that I should be grateful to my parents help? Or you showing that gratitude in action helps? So here in karma and bhakti, knowledge takes the secondary position, doing takes the primary position. And Allah, we say, do it with Shraddha, do it with Bhava, do it with the right Bhava, do it with Shraddha, all that comes in. Are you able to follow? I'm sure. Now, whenever we talk about selfless action, we talk from this angle only, we talk. You follow? Whenever we talk about selfless action, we talk about selfless action within this parameters. Within this boundary, we talk. You should remember that. Distinct and different from this is knowledge. What is knowledge? It's beautiful. Knowledge is much more beautiful because it says all this is Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. When we say Jagat Mithya, everything of the Jagat is Mithya. The worshipper is Mithya, the worshipped is Mithya. Now, what do we do there? In the morning, I can't sit and study worshipper and worshipped. Both are Mithya and then start doing it properly. No, you can't practice it together. You follow? You can't sit in the morning and 4 to 6, all are illusion. Everything is illusion. And then 6-5. You'll go mad if you do that way, isn't it? Therefore, Krishna gave a beautiful answer to that. How he reconciled it so beautifully in verse 3, chapter 3. Lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta maya naga jnana yogena sankyanam karma yogena yogina. That's ஆரம்பத்திலே clear-ஆ சொல்லிட்டோம்ல, he says. In the beginning itself, it is told very clearly, no, karma yogi, jnana yogi, sankyanam yoginam, do it. So, from what angle we talk about this? We talk about it from the angle of knowledge. Not in the true sense of the knowledge, but in selfless. That is why I said straight away, what drives selflessness? Love. Just love. That's all. What is the reason? There is no other reason for selflessness except love. You follow? Anshu. We will continue next week also. Next week also I will come.
Okay.
Because there are some more questions, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll finish all that. So I will come next week also, so that we'll finish.
Right.
We'll finish these questions. I'm allowed no next week, Venkat? Okay. Only if he permits me, then it's okay. Yeah. We'll continue next week also with your following questions. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.